Welcome back to the podcast. It is so good to have you here. I can't tell you how much your presence means. Oh my goodness, my life has been feeling honestly chaotic and confusing. There's been a lot of grief happening, lots of shedding of layers, and like grief in a sense of, people passing away, parts of myself dying. A lot of people that I love, are going through their own stuff, whether it be health-wise, emotional-wise, breakups, whatever it is. And I wanted to, I always want to just make sure that I'm being completely real with you guys, because we live in a space online now. Like literally, I feel like we have a life online that's separate from our actual reality of life. And a lot of people are only posting about their highlights, how everything's going so well for them and how much money they're making. And while we love seeing people thrive, we love it, okay? I think it's so important to also weave in the moments that are really hard and challenging, because we're not hearing enough of that, and people are consuming all this content and wronging themselves for feeling a certain way in their life, for feeling sad or angry, or for having problems in their life. And the reality of it is that is just what life is like, you're never not going to have any problems. You're never going to be like happy all the time. And I know we hear that, but I think that there's a subconscious part of ourselves that's been like very much so brainwashed to believe that we have to be happy all the time. And if we're not, that there's something wrong with us. And so I just want to be that reminder for you that you can be so grateful for your life, okay? You can be so grateful. You can have one of the best lives ever. I know that I have one of the best lives ever. Like, I live in a beautiful country. I live in Mexico. Created a whole new life here. And I still have a lot of challenges. And I think it's just so important to talk about this because, even with my own personal journey, I had a lot of people who I could just sense how resentful they were because they saw my life online. No matter how vulnerable I got, no matter if I was sharing my truth, if I was having a bad day, or, I just had so much resentment being projected back at me. And like I said, yes, I up-leveled my life. I moved to a beautiful country. I created a whole new life. But people thought that, oh, okay, she's like living in paradise. Like her life must be so perfect. And it's like, no, I still have a regular life where I have to still clean my house. I still have to go to the grocery store. I still have challenges that I'm facing in my business. I have challenges that I face in relationships. I have certain inner challenges as well too that I'm working through, because I'm a human being, and none of us are exempt from that. Okay, there's, no matter what goal we reach, no matter the happy relationship that we're in, the amazing business that we create, the money that we have, there will still always be another problem. And that doesn't always have to be a bad thing, right? I think the way that we navigate through these problems need to be different from what we're doing from the past in order to be able to fucking not only survive in this lifetime, but to actually feel like we're living a fulfilled life in all aspects, in our relationships, in our business, with ourselves, And so, yeah, gratitude is a big part of it. It's I think it's so important for us to stay grateful and to remind ourselves what we have. And I think we need space to also feel what's actually happening for us instead of going into hyper positivity and not addressing the core stuff that we're actually feeling, the abandonment wounds, the feeling of feeling just of being scared to fall in love or to make a commitment to someone. That's like one of the biggest themes I see is like, I'm so scared to fall in love. I'm so scared to that they're going to leave if they stay with me for too long, then, they're going to find out exactly who I am and then they'll just leave, And yeah, like those are all possibilities. Those are all possibilities. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you like, oh, that's never going to happen. No, it could very well happen, right? But what if you never took any chances and then you just missed out on those experiences that were meant for your growth, that were meant to bring you through another portal into like the next part of your life? Because every single person, no matter how your human mind defines it as valuable or invaluable, but every single person, every single encounter, literally the time that we leave the house, the time that we leave a certain place is so divinely planned. I remember, when was it? This has happened to me on so many occasions, and I can't think of a specific one that's like coming to my mind right away. But, think about like the times that you might have left the house at a specific time, and it's like maybe usually you leave the house at 9, and like this time you left at like 9:30. For some reason you were late. Maybe you were like taking a shit and it delayed you. That happens to me. Or just maybe something came up and you had to leave the house later. And if you didn't leave at that time, a magical moment couldn't have happened. Like maybe you ran into someone who literally changed your life. So many people meet their soulmates. So many people meet their soulmates like because of divine timing, because of, they went somewhere that they don't usually frequent, or they left the house at a different time. And if they had left earlier, then they wouldn't have met this person, right? And so when we can learn to really, like, what I'm trying to get at from all of this is that everything is so divinely planned and timed. And I know that it can really feel like, I was having a conversation with someone today, but it can just really feel like, okay, what the fuck is happening? Like, why does my life feel like it's falling apart, And a lot of times when we are under so much pressure and when we feel like so many things are falling apart, whether it be in our relationship, whether it be in our business, whether it be, even with ourselves, like there could be our business and our relationships could be going so well, but the relationship with ourselves could feel like it's crumbling, right? And what's happening is that we're asking to see through a lens of more clarity. And oftentimes when things are falling apart, maybe not so right away in the moment that we see things with a lot of clarity, but as time goes on and we're able to process those emotions and process the experiences that come along with the falling apart, there's so much eye-opening stuff that comes our way, And so I don't want you to like romanticize the pain or to like, I'm not going to give you that advice. I know some people say like let's romanticize the pain and let's like, no, we're not romanticizing the pain. We're going to look at it for what it is. Okay. We're going to address the pain, the core wounding of the pain, and we're going to decide to move differently. And so I want to give you some guidance on how, like, I'm saying like, let's decide differently, but I want to give you some guidance on like what that actually looks like. Like what does moving differently actually look like? And for me, I have noticed that like I'm so about tuning into your body and doing what feels right for your body. And I never want you to go against that. But I think sometimes our body, it remembers a lot of things. It's like a computer, okay? And it remembers a lot of things that our mind cannot. And so sometimes we're going to have certain responses and we don't understand them, or we know where it's coming from, but we don't know why it's so intensified, right? And in these moments, it's not about being calm all the time, but it is about how we're going to, like, for example, just going to give you concrete examples, but before I used to lash out a lot. I was in a really horrible relationship. Like I think parts of me didn't show up very healthy in that relationship, and parts of my partner as well didn't show up very healthy. Okay. Both of us are not bad people. I just want to be clear on that. But the way that I responded to a lot of problems in that relationship, I could have handled it a lot better, maybe not all the time. Maybe not all the time. It wasn't like, horrible, but I found, when I drank, a lot of my emotions would come out, and it would come out in like anger or sadness and, aggression. Right. And so I had a choice. And this happened after I got out of the relationship. But I had a choice to think about, okay, if alcohol makes me this certain way, especially when I'm going through so many things, like I'm going through a relationship that, I'm not being treated very well in, and it's going to bring up a lot of emotions for me. And these emotions where I feel like I can't even express it in the relationship. And of course, when you drink alcohol, like you lose, like your inhibitions become less, right? You let your walls down a little bit more. You become more, quote unquote, freer. And like, that's why so much of my emotions had come out, right? And not in the best way possible. And then you're left the next day, like I was left the next day feeling a lot of shame and, foggy minded too, because I'm like, fuck, like, what the fuck did I say? What did I do? I can only remember bits and pieces, So I had the choice to navigate this differently as I moved through the rest of my life. And it wasn't long after that I decided to give up alcohol. And I haven't drank alcohol in probably 5 or 6 years. And I don't plan on going back to it. Do I think alcohol is bad? I don't. I think that it affects people differently. And, I know I'm saying I don't think it's bad, but I think it's bad for your body. Like there's like scientific studies shown to prove in that. But we all have choices, right? And like some people can do that in moderation and some people can't, and I had to make that decision, and I'm so happy that I did, because when alcohol is involved, and I see this, I've seen this happen with me, with people that I really love, it makes things worse, and a lot of people normalize it, especially if they've grown up with it, of like, oh, well, they were just drunk. And, I said that when I was drunk, I didn't mean it. And it's like, yeah, like there could be a truth to that, but it's like, okay, when it becomes a pattern and a habit of how you deal with your life issues, and when there's conflict that comes up, you have the choice. You have a choice to either continue to live out that habit, and there's going to be consequences with that, right? Consequences meaning for yourself too, like you're not going to feel good about it. The people that you love, when you're interacting with them, are not going to feel good about it, right? So you can continue to hurt yourself and hurt other people, or you can make a decision, even if you need to make the decision over and over again. I know I had to do that at one point, where there were a few times where I was like, I'm giving up alcohol, and I would give it up for like a few weeks or a month, and then I'd just go back. But there was a breaking point where I was like, I'm not fucking doing this shit anymore, And that, again, like that's what I mean is like, it's not easy to break these habits, especially given like the social culture that you're in. Drinking is a part of a lot of social cultures, right? So it can be hard to give that up, right? And by the way, like I'm not preaching for you to give up alcohol. I'm just sharing my story. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. I really don't care. I care about you, but I just like, I know you're an informed individual who's listening to this. So I'm giving you a different perspective of like what I went through, and I want you to relate it to different parts of your life. Like maybe it's not alcohol for you, like maybe it's something else that, maybe it's just like this anger management. Maybe you get really aggressive or really angry and you can't control your emotions. And when I say control, I'm not asking you to suppress your emotions. I'm saying like having a relationship with your emotions where you have a healthy outlet, where you're able to actually work through conflict without defensiveness and without aggression. And, and you can experience the feeling of frustration and rage inside your body. And again, there's healthy outlets for that, right? But what I'm trying to get at is that we have choices in how we are going to decide differently if we want to have changes in our life. And, I bring up my story about alcohol because that was one of the biggest decisions I've ever had to make. It really was, because, if you haven't given up alcohol, you really don't know like the other side of it. When you go to parties and people are constantly like, oh, like, just have one drink. And you're just like, I don't drink. And people are still trying to convince you like so many years later, or, everybody's drinking and you're the only one sober. And you know what? Like, I actually love being the only sober person because one, like, I'm a good time without alcohol. Like, I don't need it. I'm able to be present. I'm able to have like more meaningful experiences with people, right? Because another thing that I wanted to change in my life before was like, I was constantly around people that I thought cared about me, but didn't. And, I noticed this because like as soon as I actually gave up alcohol, like a lot of people fell away from my life, because I was always the one, like everyone was always at my house drinking, and, I was always making food for people. And well, when that stopped, it's like the friendship stopped, you know what I mean? And the social inclusion stopped. And that's okay, because you know what? Like truly, that was just so out of alignment with who I really am. And again, like this is the thing, okay? I have really great friends right now who drink. So it's like, it's about the alcohol and it's not about the alcohol too. Like it's really about people and their values and like what they're doing with their time and like their morals and like just those certain types of alignment things, right? Like, my best friend, she still drinks. She doesn't drink as much, but she still drinks. And like, but when we're together, like we're not really drinking. I'm not, sometimes we're at family parties together, so she might be drinking, but it's like, I don't know, like it's just, that's just not an issue. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's necessarily about the alcohol. I think it's one, how it impacts people and like how it impacts the relationship, right? I have a mentor too. Like she likes to have a drink sometimes, and her and I get along great. I have a friend here where I live. I think I have two friends actually. And, she likes to go out once in a while and have a good drink, but that's the thing is like, this is what I've noticed. It's like, it's not people who are doing this constantly, right? And these are the people who have good problem solving skills. They have good communication skills. They have compassion. They have ambition and goals and dreams, right? And almost all of them, okay, can't speak for all of them, but almost all of them have had this past of like, okay, well, I've had to shift how I show up in social settings. And for me, again, like I said, like that was dropping alcohol. One of the best decisions I've ever made, because you know what? It is a great feeling after you go to a party and you wake up the next morning and you're not hungover and you can just go to the gym. Like I made that a part of my identity during COVID. I'm going to do a whole other episode on like why I stopped drinking and just how it's like fucking made my life so much better. It's made my life so much better to the point like when I'm out with people and like I see them drinking, I'm like, oh my God, like this is so amazing. Like, I love this. And like, I love being around people who are drinking. And like, I love being around people who are like, I'm so happy for them that they're having a great time, and I'm so happy for me that I'm having a great time without it, and that like I get to wake up and I don't like, I specifically remember when I would wake up, I would smell the alcohol on my breath. Oh, and the headache. It's just like, oh my God, no, thank you. No more of that. But to bring it back to, the topic of the episode is like, I had to choose differently. And you're going to have to make decisions that majority of people are not making. Like, that's just what it is. Because majority of the earth drink, right? Majority of people drink. And I decided, like, I'm not going to be majority of people, because I truly just value my body so much, and my mind and my organs, and, health-wise, like I do truly try my best to stay healthy. And that's just, it's just not a part of my identity anymore. And it used to be a big part of my identity, like growing up too. And so I share this with you because I feel like this is one of the challenges that was so reoccurring in my life. And I had to go through so many layers of shedding that identity before it was like fully embodied, And so, like I said, maybe it's not alcohol for you, but maybe, I don't know, like maybe it's something else. Like maybe it's your relationship to food. Oh, I can talk about this too. I used to have like not a great relationship with food. And yeah, I'll do another episode on that. That's a whole other episode. But maybe it's food for you. Maybe it's Netflix. Maybe it's doom scrolling. Maybe it's sweets. Like maybe like whatever it is, it could be something so fucking random too. And it's like, you're aware of it, what's happening, but there's like that in-between phase that still needs to take place, right? And, like I just really live by this of like, you have to decide, even if you have to decide over and over again, and you have to take those actions, and it's not going to be easy. Trust me, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And I think too, if you're listening to this and you're an entrepreneur, or you're somebody who wants to experience like an all-time amazing relationship, okay? You have to decide like the partner that you, like the person, the partner, if you want kids, like the parent that you want to be. You have to start being that now, okay? Not like waiting until you get that partner, not waiting until you have the kids, not waiting until, your business is like blown the fuck up. You got to start showing up in those morals and values right now. Because the more that you put that off, that is another day that is going to waste of effort that you could have put in, and intentionality and integration that you could have put into putting in the reps of being this identity that you're striving to be. It's like going to the gym, like if you're just thinking about going to the gym, or like this is another thing too, like you can be showing up. This might hit a little hard, but like you could be showing up and still not be showing up necessarily in like the aligned ways. So like, for example, like, I see people at the gym all the time, like they're there every day. And I don't know, like I don't like to judge people because, we don't know their health issues or anything like that. So it's great that they're showing up. I love that for them. But like, let's just say that they don't have health issues and it's just like a mindset thing or an identity thing, okay? And they're just showing up and they're lifting light weights and they're not putting in as much effort. Like they're barely breaking a sweat, right? Yeah, like they're showing up every day, but the quality of that effort is not bringing them the results that they want, So it is the same thing with this life work. It's the same thing with your relationship. It's the same thing with your business. It's the same thing with the way that you talk to yourself, the way that you show up for yourself, right? So I want you to think about that of like, and not from a place of like pressuring yourself more or shaming yourself of like, I need to do more. No, I just want you to have a real honest conversation with yourself as if you were like talking to your best friend of like, hey, I love you. I see that you're showing up. I see how badly you want this. Okay, but I'm seeing these blind spots. Okay, I'm seeing that you could be so much more of your potential. But what's underneath that? Like, why? Where do you feel that resistance? What do you feel about that resistance? And go layer by layer. And oftentimes why a lot of people don't change the way that they're navigating through their life problems is because they're worried or they fear that they're going to lose it, or that they're not going to be able to handle it, or that it's going to be taken away from them, or that they can't trust it. So why even bother? Like, why not just play it safe where we know we're going to get our basic needs met? Basic needs in a relationship, basic needs at a job, basic needs with ourselves. Like, okay, I'm doing the maintenance work, so I don't need to do anything more or less, because this is just what I know is going to be safe for me and what works, right? So how can we challenge those things around like, okay, yeah, I am playing it safe. Like, how can I step out of my comfort zone a little bit more? How can I take a risk that one is not going to like make your nervous system go havoc? Okay, but a risk that's like, okay, this feels edgy enough for me, just edgy enough for me to push me forward. Just edgy enough for me to get me thinking outside of the box. Just edgy enough for me to get me to integrate different actions, And once you start to integrate on that edge and you start to see these like subtle changes, like I always love to bring it back to like the gym, like if you go to the gym for a month, like 5 days a week for a month, you're going to see subtle changes. You will. And especially if you're eating properly too. I mean, that's a big thing in fitness is your nutrition. But it's the same thing with your identity work. It's the same thing with navigating through your life problems. If you decide, okay, you know what? Instead of me spiraling, going down this rabbit hole of like all the things that could go wrong, what if for a month, and again, like this is easier said than done, but what if for a month, like I just decided to do it differently? What if I decided to imagine the best outcome possible? So even if I do have those thoughts of like, fuck, like worst case scenario, what if I interrupt that and just say, wow, actually like best case scenario, and I get to just start dreaming about that. And like I said, I know it's easier said than done, but just because it's easier said than done, it doesn't mean that you're not going to act on it. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't act on it. In fact, because it's easier said than done, you should be acting on it. You should be moving forward with the harder stuff. Because on the other side of the harder stuff really is the embodiment of everything that you're seeing for yourself. And I know it can feel so hard for a long period of time. Trust me. I'm still going through my own shit from my past and, current stuff that's coming up. And you know what? Yeah, it's hard, and it's also a blessing because it's brought me so much clarity. It's brought me so much direction. It's brought me so much fucking self-respect, especially when it's come to relationships. Like, the last few years, I mean, I haven't been with somebody like seriously in a long time. I mean, I've always been serious about anybody that I date. I'm not the person that can just like casually date. Like, no, I've always been in it for like long term, but sometimes it just doesn't last long term as I wanted, or something happens, and that's okay. But what I'm saying is that with these past few years in relationships has showed me so much about myself and my self-respect. There were times where I did a lot of shit where I was like, fuck, that was like self-betrayal at its worst. And I can look back on it and like laugh now, because I'm like, okay, cool. I need to go through that. I need to go through that to like feel like fucking shit to actually respect myself, and it's okay. Like, don't shame yourself for your past experiences of how you navigated through life before, but you have an opportunity every single day to change things. Even on the days that you feel like fucking shit. You know how many times I wake up and I'm like, fuck. And I get up and I move my body and I'm like, fuck, this is a blessing to move my body. That's a life hack, by the way. Fucking move your body. Like, move your fucking body. Like, it actually rewires your fucking brain. Like, absolutely. It makes you feel stronger. It makes you feel confident. And you start to see like physical results. Damn. And exercise, like, yeah, like, okay, especially when you're lifting too. I'm going off on a little tangent here about exercise, but when you're lifting, like, your body kind of is in survival state, because like, I mean, you're doing hard shit. You're doing hard shit. You're lifting heavy weights and like you're working your body. But after, there is like a rush of, endorphins that come through your body, and even not even after, like even during too, right? And it's an opportunity in the gym where like you can just really challenge yourself. And there's certain things, like there's certain weights, like a weight, I want to say weight size. I don't know why I want to say weight size, but you know what I mean? Like there's certain like weight averages where like I was like, damn, like I'm never going to be able to lift that heavy, or I'm never going to be able to do that exercise. And you know what like helped me so much is having people in the gym believe in me too. I had this, so this has happened to me on multiple occasions at like different gyms that I've gone to, but I've had someone personal train me for free just because they wanted to, You're like, hey, come train with me. Like, I see you working hard. I want to help you. Like, okay, you want to train me for free? Okay, thank you. Fully receiving that. And then just recently too, like 2 or 3 months ago, there was a personal trainer in the gym that I go to, and we just started talking, and he's like, I'm just going to give you a free training plan. Man wrote me up a fucking personalized training plan. And not only that, it's just like, whenever I see him at the gym, he'll check in on me and how's your exercise going? Or if he sees me and I'm doing something, like maybe my form's wrong, or I'm doing the exercise wrong, sometimes that happens. And he'll come correct me. And, also too, the other people in the gym as well, like they're like, yeah, like they're just encouraging you. And this is why I'm such a big believer in coaching, in mentorship, because yeah, of course you can do it on your own. Like, you're a badass bitch, okay? And if you're a male listening to this, you're a badass as well too. Of course you can do it on your own. But it's nice to have support. Like, we all grow in community. Like, we're human beings and we're wired for connection. And so when you get yourself into rooms where people are literally cheering you on and seeing your potential before you can even see it, that is also going to help you navigate through your life challenges differently, because not only are you being supported in the way that your soul needs, okay? Because all these people who are supporting you, who see you for you before you can even see a bigger version of you, this is so divinely connected, so divinely timed, right? And so that's why I'm huge on coaching. And I say that, like, I have mentors right now as well too. If I didn't have them, yeah, I can do it on my own. I really can. Trust me, I've done so many things on my own. And having them by my side and having someone to support me, to bounce things off of too. Like, although I'm intuitive, like, there are certain things that I actually don't know. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I want guidance on this from somebody who has embodied this already, you know? And it's people that I trust too. And I think that there's so much healing medicine and in being seen for your soul and for who you are, for your potential, for who you're becoming before it's actually like come to fruition in your reality. And I say that because when it does come to fruition, like, you can look back and be like, fuck, like, I had this amazing supportive team who like saw my vision before I did, or they saw it with you maybe, you know. But I know on some hard days, for me as an entrepreneur, on the hard days, I'm like, fuck, like, I can't even see my vision right now. I'm so in my emotions. And that's when, you know, you need your support system to support system you. They got to show up, you know? And so and I think we can learn a lot from having these professional supports and even personal supports, like our friends and our family as well too. But we can learn so much about how we can navigate through things differently, because so much is just being reflected back to us in these moments where we're having these interactions. You know, if you have self-doubt, like, let's just take self-doubt and worthiness as like an anchor point here, okay? So if you're somebody who struggles with that, in your first natural instinct is to spiral, you know? And then someone is there reflecting back to you, like, not necessarily holding you accountable, but they're like, hey, like, this is what I'm seeing for you. Okay, I understand you're going through it and I can empathize with that. But that's not the reality of what's happening for you. That's not the reality of who you are. These are just the narratives that have been told to you, or the narratives that you're telling yourself. Right? And when we can separate those two things, and it can, again, like, it's challenging too. It's challenging to separate how you feel from what's actually happening. You know, it's challenging to separate how you feel from what you can't see in the future, right? It's challenging. But like I said, like, these supports, these interactions can teach us so much, because other people sometimes can see clearly when we're so deep into our emotions. It's like the person who's like in that horrible relationship and like all the things are happening to them and you're just like, girl, this is not good. But they're just so in love. They're so much in their emotions and they're like, no, we can make it work. I can do this. I love them. And like, you're over here like, fuck, like, this is a fucking shit show. And like, nah, girl, like, you deserve better. You deserve better, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing with our support systems, right? It's like, they're not as emotionally in it. And well, I shouldn't say that, because you know what? They are emotionally in it because they love you, right? But I mean, when it's just different when it's your own, right? Whether it's like your own relationship, whether it's your own business, whether it's, you know, your own relationship with yourself, it's just different, right? And so we can learn. Like, I know sometimes like my support system will like bring me back to like, hey, remember who the fuck you are type of energy, you know, when I can forget sometimes, right? We all need that reminder. So when we can use other people's support too as like momentum, as an energetic shift, and as like a new baseline, because who you interact with and who you surround yourself with is like fucking huge to how you navigate life challenges. It is. And I know that some of us, there's certain people that we may not have chosen in our, like, I'm talking about, like, if you have a family member who handles conflict in a way that's like really just like not in alignment with how you want to handle conflict or how you do handle conflict, but you love this person, you want to keep them in your life, I get it, right? But I would really recommend like minimizing your time around that person, because if you spend time in their energy, and if you spend time in people's energies who are showing up in ways, especially when they're navigating life challenges, or they think like just negative all the time, complaining all the time, and there's no like solution, there's no integration, there's no action, it's just the same habits over and over and over and over again, right? You're going to start to be impacted by that. And I don't say that to discourage you. I'm just saying that like that's just how energy works, right? And so this is another life hack too, is like get yourself around people who are navigating life the way that you want to navigate your life, right? You have to do that. And I've had to let go of a lot of friendships. I've had to distance myself from a lot of friendships. I've had to like literally rearrange my whole fucking life to be able to just build the life that I have right now. Okay. And like I said, my life is not perfect. I have a lot of challenges still. But if you were to look at my life like 7 years ago, how I responded to conflict, just how I was treating myself, what I was allowing in my life, you would be like, damn, like how the fuck, like this is a fucking glow up. And you can tell, like, honestly, I haven't posted this yet, but maybe it'll be posted by the time this episode comes out. But I was looking at pictures of myself, oh my gosh, like 7 years ago, which like really wasn't all that long ago, I think. But I was a lot heavier, and you could just see that there was so much pain in my eyes. You could see that I was holding so much trauma in my body. Like you could just see it. And I've literally aged backwards now. Yes, like my stresses are different, but again, like I have different coping mechanisms. Like I go to the fucking gym, I'm eating healthy, I journal, I meditate, I'm connecting with people who get it. I have support as well too. So this is what I mean. Like I wasn't really, maybe I had the support back then, like professional support, but I wasn't doing the integration part of really taking care of myself. I was journaling and meditating at that time, and hey, like, this is what I mean. Like when you start to embody a new identity, like it's not going to look perfect at the beginning. It's not going to look perfect ever, really, but there's going to get to a point where you have a new baseline, So yeah, I'm sharing all of these things with you because I want you to know that your life can change so drastically overnight, within years, within a few months. It all just depends on your intentionality, the work that you do as well too on yourself, and trusting in God as well too. I think that's a really big thing. And I know it can feel hard when you're doing all the right things and you're still not seeing results, and I wish I had an answer for you for that of like, okay, well, why is that happening? I don't. I'm going to be honest with you, is like, I don't. But what I can say is continue to trust, because miracles happen every single day. And I want you to start normalizing miracles in your life. Start normalizing that good things happen to you, and start to create those things for yourself. Even if you start off small, when I came to Mexico's honestly changed my life in so many ways. Like I truly, truly feel like I learned how to love myself here. And a lot of it was just reflected back to me. Like, I had people take me in as their own family here, like strangers who didn't know me, who've like become really good friends of mine. Going to a restaurant and, having a free meal Not like I've never asked for that, but people just wanted to, like, they just want to do things for me. So sometimes I will go to places that I've been a regular at, and they'll give me a free meal, or I'll get a free drink, or even the lady who massages me, like sometimes she's just like, I just love massaging you and I just want to give you a free massage today. And this is what I mean. It's like these gestures, whether how big or how small they are, these just really show me. And I want you to start using these like quote unquote small or big gestures and start writing them down around like, okay, this happened. Like this shows me that I'm really in abundance and that I really am embodying like a high level frequency. Because if you weren't, I really don't think that those things would be coming to you. So think about the small things. Like even, the other day, my mom, she said something just like so sweet to me, and I wrote that down. I was like, thank you. Like I loved hearing that from you. It's a blessing that I get to hear these things from my mom. It's a blessing that, I got to talk to my sister today. It's a blessing that I have like these beautiful nephews and a niece that, are growing up and just becoming these really beautiful humans, right? Like it's in extracting the mundane things that we can take for granted sometimes. And I say that because sometimes, I catch myself too. I'm like, oh, so we can be grateful for those things, and we can also honor and create space for what's actually happening for us. And there is a balance and an in-between of that. And that's, and when we can extract the gratitude, and when we can fully sit and process this in those spaces where shit's actually happening to us, and, we feel like the not so great feelings, that's where change happens. Because you're not just sitting in like, oh my gosh, like this is all happening to me. And then you're also not up like in the fucking clouds, which, hey, like that's a great place to be. I love being up in the clouds. But what I mean by that is like, you're not just like avoiding. You're not just avoiding by being positive. You're not just avoiding what's actually happening by being positive and masking it. So that's what I mean is we need that middle ground. So that's where the change happens. That's where you can navigate things differently, and your life is going to start to transform through all of that. Anyway, this was such a good episode. I love being here with you guys, and let me know what you think. I want to hear about what you've taken away from this episode. Share this with somebody who needs to hear these things. And also would love if you shared it to your social media. It helps the podcast grow. It helps me make a bigger impact. Like that's one of my biggest missions is like I want to make big quality impact in this world internationally. And so sharing this would mean the absolute world to me. Share it to your social media and tag me at iam.SamanthaGilhooly. You're probably following me already on Instagram. If you're not, what are you waiting for, baby? What are you waiting for? Anyway, I love you. And if any of this resonated with you, just reach out and I'd love to explore working further with you. Okay? Have a beautiful rest of your day, rest of your night, whenever you're listening to this. And I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Bye.